Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. What you're about to feast your eyes and ears on is some incredible football chat, and it's more than your average football chat. I believe this is one of the best shows that you're going to get anywhere on the internet, nay on TV, around Liverpool Football Club. I was joined by Simon Brundish, a strength and conditioning coach, and I truly learned a lot about what goes on behind the scenes at Liverpool, which is why I wanted to showcase this to everyone who has supported us on our YouTube channel over the years. So please enjoy this clip and hopefully you learn as much as I did out of it. Might be a good idea to give people a background of what you do and why I want to know what you think on this stuff.
So this is my wheelhouse. This is literally what I do for a job. I'm a strength conditioning coach and sports scientist for 26 years now. That's because I'm old. Worked across all sports, but football, Premier League, with Premier League international footballers. I consult with a multitude of clubs, with the FA, England, and yeah, this is the exact stuff that we create training programs from. One of the things that we talked off air before is the fatigue index, which is basically it's a set of data running how a player's training load over the course of a week. You would look at external monitors, which are basically how much, how fast, and how far a player has run, and you compare them to their match day data, and which will give you an acute load for 1 week, and then you compare those to a 4-week period, which is their chronic load. And then there's an algorithm that you use to compare those two things, which gives you a number of how one compares to the other. Anything below 0.3, you're good to go. Anything below 0.1 to 0.3 is great, or 110 to 130%. They're primed and ready to play as many games as you like. Anything above 130% means that there's been an increase in load of more than 30% of this 1 week compared to the previous 4. That's
you're
when
gonna
you're
have to say this out in
layman's
layman's terms for me, mate. So
you're
looking at the minutes and the workload that they're doing in training, and you're comparing it to the minutes and the workload that they're doing in the games, and you're suggesting there is a 100% of what you would expect them to achieve.
Yeah, so let's say...
And you don't want to go above 130%, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, kind of, right? So let's go with Burnley, or one of those teams that play once a week, right? So there are 3 factors in this. One is match day data. So if let's say one of the Burnley players runs 11K a game, and he does 2,000 high-speed meters, and he does 25 sprints on a match day, right? The training load for that week will be designed around doing twice as much as that.
Okay. Over
the course of the week as well, right? So then you have 3 times that amount, and that's the.
So he's going to do 33 kilometers, 6,000 high-speed meters, and
75 sprints.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Exactly that, right? And that's the playing load. That's the total load from a week. Right, the chronic load is how much of that over the course of 4 weeks is he done. So you get an average of the 4 weeks. That's your chronic load. The acute load is 1 week. The chronic load is 4 weeks.
Okay.
And if say if a player hasn't, so where this will change is suddenly if you have a cup week. And you ask a player to play in the cup week, and he gets, then you suddenly get 2 games rather than 1. If you don't change your training week, so if you still carry on training at the same intensity, there is going to be an increase of more than 30% of that load. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does.
And or it happens also more pertinently, more commonly, if you have an understudy so you have 2 centre backs. A good example from last season. You have 2 centre-backs that play every game, right? In one game, your chief centre-back that plays every minute of every game gets injured. So your 3rd choice centre-back comes on, but he wasn't planned to be primed to be playing every week. So he has a chronic load from training only of 2 times, not 3. So he has a chronic load of 20k, not 30. And then suddenly he has to play 2 games a week and train. So he'll have more than a 30% increase in his workload.
Ah, you know what? I'm getting it now, right? And this is when it's the prime that's the important part of all of this, isn't it? So this is when we're talking about you're priming a player for a 9-month season. It's completely different for priming a cyclist for a 4-week Tour of France, where they've got to peak in fucking July only at their absolute best.
Yes. So you want to get players of over the course of the 4 to 6 week preseason up to being able to tolerate about 150 minutes of game minutes per week.
Right.
And you want them to be able to sustain that throughout a whole season for your better players. But that's really really unlikely that you're going to get 11 players that can do that anyway. You're looking at players. Most players can. The good players go for about 100 minutes a week average over the course of a season. So you're going to have to dip in and dip out of those and plan and periodize your season. If you think of, there's been lots of conversations over the years of Fergie and how he used to build in blocks over the course of the season. He would tell Scholes, right, you're not playing much in this block, but you'll be playing in the 3rd block after the international break all the way through Christmas. So be ready for that. And over the course of the season, he will have his 100 minutes a week, but that he'll be fresh for Christmas when there are 13 games in 8 weeks, and he won't be used when there's 1 game a week for 4 weeks when they're going to use another player. So yeah, it kind of evens itself out. So you have to plan for these things, but the problem is only when you get multiple players injured in the same position, so they haven't been primed to be playing 2 games a week, and it's very much primed rather than resting. That's one of the things that we hear about all the time. This player needs resting. Jota got injured last year in a nonsense game, or we played in the last EFL game, the last Caribou game, we played too many of our starters, or against Milan. But Mo is perfectly capable of playing. He has a chronic load of 155 minutes a week. He has 5 years of history of being able to play that. He's demonstrated that that's where he does it. And projected over the course of a season, at the current rate he's playing, is well within his an average season for him. So he can carry on doing that. It's when he's playing too many minutes early on in the season, and you're suddenly projected at 20% more than you've ever played before, it's quite likely you're going to break. So you have to bring that down. But mostly, it's not about resting players. It's about gradually building up their capacity to repeat.
Interesting. Oh, mate, that's so fucking interesting. So how does this now? Are we ready to move on to like the graphic that you've sent us, the Andy Robertson one, and how this reflects it?
Sure. This is a good example. If people want to see this, so this is how I visualize the chronic load for a player. So in this graph, you have the gold line is 2021, the blue line is 1920, the green line is 1819, and then the pink line is this season, over the course of the season from the first week on. So you can see there's the average minutes per week that Robbo does and where he currently sits now, because he's just below, obviously, having had 2 weeks off. And how we would plot this for a normal season is when somebody's been injured, we have an injury marker on there as well, so you can start to see if there are any patterns of if a player gets injured at a certain level.
So for example,
minutes.
Maybe in the orange line, Andy Robertson, where it spikes higher than all the others, it might be that there's an injury at the top of one of these spikes more often than not.
Exactly. And you can also see when a player is, if there's if there's a more than like a 10-degree angle there, if there's a sharp increase in that line, that's one of those spikes that we talked about, where the increase in game time has been too high compared to the chronic load. So these lines are rolling 4-week averages. So you want them to be curves rather than peaks.
Okay. Okay, so what am I looking at here, and what's the good, the bad, and the ugly of it?
So really, the what you can see from Robbo is that he averages 100. If we had the context of the league, 132 minutes a week would be top 10 players in the league. That
2 games a week,
much.
Bit more, yeah.
Yeah. So he's a Champions League player, and as you can see, there are no injuries in there. So I've showed you one of the players. I could show you a bunch of them before that they get to a certain level and they drop off. But what we can see there is that over the course of his career with Liverpool, since the green is his first is 18-19. For the rest of the time, he's pretty much been above his average level, and he is able to sustain 145, 150 minutes a week without having to worry about it at all. So he's one of those proper hardcore plodders, which is awesome. This season, the one visual you can see from this season is that he can, as long as you build up over the course of the next 4 weeks, his chronic load back up to 140, 150 minutes. He has demonstrated the capacity in the past to go for the rest of the season at that level without having to worry about resting him.
Which is interesting. But what does something like this do to performance over a period of what we're looking at here? Because I think a lot of people would say that Robbo's form dropped off at the beginning of the season. I think you could even argue that last season, the first 3 months of the season, I think maybe he was Liverpool's best player. Is there anything that reflects more than 4 weeks, the 4 years, the full, can you, are we just, this is uncharted territory, you're fucking on a wing and a prayer, lad?
Well, I actually have, I've talked about this for Football Manager, the game, and we plotted the XG chain against, so exactly the same, a rolling 4-week average of XG chain against their playing load, and to see how neatly it maps. And for some players, quite a considerable bunch of players, there was an inverse correlation. So the more they played, the lower their XG chain. I haven't seen this for Robbo, I can't say that. But what we can see is that Robbo had his highest average from the second half of the season that he's ever played. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he played way above his average number of minutes last season for the whole second half of the season. So
yeah, he never dips below it. It's the orange line, isn't it? Am I right in saying that?
So and it's hardly a surprise. Hardly a surprise that he kind of ran out of steam. Yeah, this also involves all international minutes as well. So this isn't just Liverpool minutes. This is all game minutes because the legs don't care what colour shirt you're wearing.
And what I wanted to talk about this, and you've set the scene, and I'm fascinated by this stuff actually. But I came into this conversation thinking I wanted to know about this 26th of December, 28th of December stuff that Klopp's been talking about in the news. It's fucking riled people up to high heaven. Like, my brother's a Blue and he can't abide Klopp talking about this stuff anymore. And he's like, I'm just so glad that Pep Linders is on the sideline so I don't have to hear him moan about it. And I was like, you fucking on crack, lad. What are you going about? And this is the thing. This is what the thing. Why is Klopp so vociferous about changes around Christmas from your experiences? And do you agree with him? Because I don't care if you do or you don't.
There are 3 probably big points here, right? One, Klopp he's a PE teacher. He gets sports science and he seeks sports science. So the medical sports science and performance staff, that's what we call high performance staff at Liverpool, have more input than pretty much any other club apart from Arsenal in the league. And he seeks the information that they have, right? And the sports science shows that tradition of always playing at the weekends, the highest number of injuries in the season are the last 2 weeks of December and the last 2 weeks of April, like before May. Because that's the most fatiguing time and the longest period without an international breaks. So there are numbers that underline this, that going to a game every 2.7 days for a month is absolute insanity. It's putting so much ridiculous stress on players. But yeah, traditionally we've always done it. We always play at weekends. We always play back holidays and then Boxing Day and then New Year, whatever. I don't care. I get people that are arguing that we always do it, and it's absolutely true that we have enough squad size should be able to do these things. Problem is, we've got oligarchs that have got the best players, the 3 best players in each position of their team that can rotate as much as they like. And so we have to play our better players more than Klopp wants. Otherwise, we can't compete. And the point is to compete, right? And if you look at the actual performance data, the stuff that underpins the professional game in England, the Premier League, right? High-speed running has gone up 30%, between 30 and 40%. The total distances has gone up 15%. Sprints has gone up 50% since 2008. This is not the game it was in 2008.
Wow.
So tradition's one thing, but the physiological demands, if you look at footballers now, they are mega athletes.
They're fucking greyhounds, aren't they? Like, you know what I mean?
But you're getting Jordan Henderson, which is the evolution of a great traditional football athlete, Jordan Henderson. But then you're getting Kante, then you get the ultimate athlete, which is Virgil van Dijk. So he's 13 stone of rock solid muscle. He can outrun for over 10 meters anyone in the league. He can outrun over 80 meters anyone in the league, and he can do it for 10k if you want in a match. And then he can do it tomorrow too, and then he can do it the next day. And this is the stuff that we've never had before. Like, you don't have Tony Adams against Matt Letizia. Do you know what I mean? And then if you go out 20 years, there's nobody picking. The goalkeepers aren't picking the ball up to waste time. Do you know what I mean? This is at the highest level of high intensity that the world has ever seen in football, and they're still expected to play. Again, contra to how a body recovers, a body needs. It's been documented in so many different ways, metabolically and through looking at how blood response is, and lots of different reasons, right? Between 4 and 5 days before the body is recovered to go again from such a high intensity training stimulus, playing stimulus of playing a match. And we're expecting them to do it twice in 2 days. It makes no sense. It's just going to cause injury and a huge decrement to the quality of the game.
So Klopp's not whining?
He's a bit of a whiny bitch, isn't he? But he does go on about it, but he's right. Both those things are true. He's a bit of a whiny bitch, and he's right.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, is it going to change? Is anybody going to listen?
No, because you've got Burnley who go, oh, we're going to make those big lads have to play 2 games in 3 days when we're going to lose anyway. Who cares?
But and they play 2 games in 3 days.
But they don't care. They don't care if they lose. As long as they get enough points over the course of the season, they don't care throwing 2 games if it's going to piss off the top boys. That's
what will it take?
It's the mentality of the league.
What will it take then? What will it take for something to change it? I mean, 14 votes, probably, which you're not getting by the sound of things.
Never.
In one of these meetings. Is it a big injury? Because isn't the whole point to have the best competition with the best players at the top of their fucking game? Like, isn't that what we want to see? Wouldn't everybody rather see everyone's best 11?
You're speaking too much sense. You're speaking too much sense after a Euros where we had 56 of the top 200 players in the world injured before it started. And then we're going to play a World Cup. We're going to play a World Cup in 50 degrees in the middle of the European season.
Just throw it at high altitude as well. Fuck it, why not? Let's do that too. Can you do that?
It's just money. They don't care, and we can whinge about it. And in the grand scheme of things, it only affects a very small amount of teams, ones that are trying desperately to win without the resources to compete against the massive teams who can just play a different player. If City have, or Chelsea will whine about it as well, but if they have like a crescendo building of a position that's getting a chronic load that's too high, so they can just bring the other lad in to mitigate it, and he is the 3rd best version in the world of that position. Like, the problem is for us or for Arsenal or for Spurs that don't have those like directly correlatory players. That's the problem.
Yeah, so we're going from the first best maybe in the world to the top 50 player in that position. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you go from Mo Salah to Divi. Like,
or Nico Williams.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's happened. Like, you know what I mean?
Trent and Nico.
Yeah. No, that's it.
But this is the thing. Player to a kid.
Thank you so much for watching that. I hope you did enjoy that and learn something about what goes into this game that we all love. If you want to see more of this, I believe this is the best show that's being produced by anybody anywhere on the planet around Liverpool Football Club on a weekly basis. If you want it, then it's on Redmen Plus. Go over there. We do it. This one was about an hour and 15, an hour and a half, but we normally about 30, 40 minutes each and every week as part of your Redmen Plus subscription. So go over to the redmentv.com. Sign up for Redmen Plus and enjoy the Stat Show weekly.
Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want more from us, consider joining Redmen Plus, our Liverpool streaming service. It's like Netflix for Liverpool fans. Fantastic documentaries, interviews, features, and learn more about the culture of the club, as well as bonus Redmen shows as well. And if you join as a club legend, you get your name there, the redmentv.com.